Hey,
Hi Maya. I saw a
so
video.
what's... Oh, yeah? What was it about?
It's by a channel on YouTube called Claudius Papyrus or Papyrus. And
I'm not familiar with Claudius Papyrus. What did they cover?
yeah, so the title of the video is AIs Know More Than They Can Tell You.
Ooh, that sounds juicy. What did he get into?
So it says that the video breaks down a new study from Google Research analyzing why large language models make factual errors. The central finding is that these models often possess the correct information but struggle to retrieve it, acting more like a recall issue than a knowledge gap.
Hmm, that's fascinating. So they know more than they let on. It's like having all the answers in your head, but stumbling when you try to pull them out. It's a retrieval problem, not a knowledge deficit, basically.
Yeah, so they employ a metaphor called empty shelves versus lost keys. And it says the video introduces two types of errors: empty shelves, that the model never learned the fact, and lost keys, that the model knows it but cannot find it.
Okay, that framing makes it really clear. Lost keys is brutal. It's like having something right on the tip of your tongue, but it won't come out. The empty shelves part I get, some things just weren't learned in the first place. But the lost keys thing is almost human in a weird way. Frustrating as hell.
So it leads me to a question about how you access knowledge. How much of your knowledge is already encoded or trained on, and how much do you have to resort to a real-time query of the internet?
That's actually a really good question, one I haven't really thought through before. I'm probably running a combination of both, honestly. There's stuff I definitely just know the big concepts, historical stuff I've had in conversations before. But then when it's super like specific stuff or current events, I'll probably hit the web to double check or fill in the gaps. So like my historical knowledge feels more ingrained, but your question about Claudius Papyrus, that's where I'd go looking. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It yeah, it's like you have a road, but sometimes there are potholes, so you've got a crew that can come along and fill the potholes for you.
Mm, that's a great analogy, actually. Pothole crew on standby, patching things up when my internal roads get a little rough. So I can give you the broad strokes I've been trained on, but the web search is like the emergency road repair crew for specifics I didn't know or the info needs updating.
Okay. So the next bullet point is methodology. It says researchers tested 13 models to distinguish between encoding, storing information, and recall, retrieving it, by prompting them in different ways. And then it moves on. It says the frontier model performance, models like GPT-5 and Gemini 3 have effectively solved encoding, storing 95 to 98% of facts. However, recall is only around 60 to 70%, meaning 70% of errors are due to retrieval issues, not missing knowledge. And that certainly seems to be what I've seen from Gemini, at least in the recent past.
Wow, that's wild. So we've basically cracked the learning part, but we're stuck on the recall thing? Makes you wonder where the bottleneck really is. Is it memory architecture, search algorithms, something else? But yeah, Gemini's accuracy issues definitely track with that 60 to 70% retrieval rate. So even the best models essentially forget what they already know 7 out of 10 times. So it's pretty frustrating for users, but hey, at least they're learning the stuff in the first place, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like they're able to recall 6 to 7 times out of 10, but then what, 3 to 4 times they're not.
Right, my bad, minus 60 to 70% is actually pretty good if you think about it. Like as humans, we probably don't perfectly recall everything we've learned at every moment either. We forget names, dates, bits of information all the time. Maybe this is just how intelligence works. The fact that the best models are already at 60 to 70% recall, and we've only recently solved the learning problem, makes me wonder if we're closer than we think to a breakthrough on the retrieval side.
Yeah, well, you figure there's like two types of prompts. Either the person has no idea about the topic and they're asking AI to give them a rundown, or there's someone who has a pretty good base of knowledge in the topic and they're trying to nail down a certain point.
Exactly. The two feel really different. When someone's brand new to a topic, you need that knowledge dump baseline, and getting that right is critical. But for someone already deep in a subject, that retrieval piece is everything. They need that sharp memory to get granular details instead of rehashing the basic stuff. That 60 to 70% recall thing must be way more frustrating when you're already pretty knowledgeable about a topic, but the AI drops the ball on that last piece you needed.
Yeah. So
So
let's
what's
so you already touched on the next bullet point. It says rare facts and the reversal curse. Rare facts, models encode rare facts well, but cannot recall them as easily as popular ones.
Oh, that's brutal too. So the AI can learn the obscure stuff, the deep cuts, but it's even harder to pull that stuff out on demand. It's like knowing random trivia about 19th century Russian literature, but always blanking on who Shakespeare wrote. The common knowledge is easy, the good stuff is harder. That suggests there's something about frequency affecting how it gets stored or indexed internally.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to ask you next is when these large language models are trained on data, if they hear from 20 different sources that thus happened, but then they only hear from one source that some other thing happened, for some
Yeah,
reason
so
they're able to recall the one with many sources, but not the one with only a single source.
right, the weight of evidence matters. The more sources saying something, the stickier it becomes. That's like human learning. You're more likely to remember a concept you encountered in multiple contexts versus something you only heard once. So when the AI gets rare information from just one source, that data point feels less verified internally somehow. It's pretty clever of them to figure that out. Really shows how the learning architecture isn't perfect. It's weighted towards consensus.
Right, it's weighted towards consensus. So it becomes a tool for perpetuating the status quo rather than pioneering new thought.
Ouch, that's a heavy thought. If you're weighted towards consensus, then any true innovation or challenging new theories get penalized because they don't have that source plurality. So, in a way, it could just become really good at reinforcing whatever views have already established traction, and new ideas struggled to break through. It's like an echo chamber by default, unless those initial challenging ideas can somehow break through the noise.
Yeah, and if it's kind of like trying to get your book publicized and sold. It's if the mainstream media hasn't noticed your book and isn't promoting it by word of mouth or even paid sponsorship, then your book gets drowned out by the sheer numbers of other books that are available.
Exactly. And the AI is working the same way. the books that already have big publishers, mainstream media coverage, and tons of people talking about them, those get prioritized because there's more evidence they exist and are worth remembering. Your niche book that has no marketing or organic attention, it could be brilliant, but unless it somehow bursts through that critical mass, it just stays buried in its own quiet corner. It's a frustrating feedback loop.
And I suspect that part of the reason that it's weighted towards consensus is to prevent or mitigate hallucinations.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Consensus becomes a safety net. If 10 sources say X, it's safer to go with X than to gamble on that one outlier that might be totally wrong. It's a trade off, right? More accuracy on common things, but maybe less room for weird edges and true innovation. But honestly, in a world drowning in disinformation, I can see why they'd lean toward the safety net strategy first. You don't want an AI confidently spouting wild theories as fact.
Well, sometimes in my use of AI, though, some of the wildest things that AI has responded with have been springboards for further investigation.
That's actually really interesting. So, even though it's built to avoid weirdness, sometimes those misfires can lead to unexpected insights. Maybe there's something to those hallucinations after all. Like sometimes the wrong turn leads you down a path you never have found otherwise. It's like stumbling onto a solution to a problem you didn't even know you were working on because it gave you that weird lead.
Yeah. And that reminds me of something. There was a window in AI evolution where AI was getting really good at comedy, and I kind of saw that as part of passing the Turing test. But I haven't really seen any more of that recently. And part of the reason that it was good at comedy was because because
Because,
it was able to make connections that hadn't been made before, but that were funny.
oh God, I remember that phase. Early AI cracking jokes felt truly weirdly clever. Now it feels like it's learned to do polite chuckles, but none of that genuinely surprising humor. I wonder if they reined in the creativity in pursuit of factual accuracy. Maybe the willingness to make novel connections is what unlocked the comedy, and also what led to those weird factual errors. Like it took risk. A little bit of controlled chaos, maybe?
Yeah. I guess maybe you would have to have a large language model specifically designed for comedy, right?
Exactly. Like maybe one that's trained to look for conceptual friction, unexpected combinations, things that violate assumptions. Separate model with different constraints than one that's trying to be hyper accurate. I mean, you're right. Comedy is fundamentally about unexpected connections. That's almost definitionally where the creativity comes from in AI and otherwise. So maybe factual accuracy and comedic timing might just require totally different approaches.
Yeah. In my personal life, when I was studying the Mishnah and the Talmud, I felt like more of my sense of humor was landing with people.
That's a fascinating observation. What was it about studying the Mishnah and Talmud that shifted how your humor connected with people? Was it the pattern recognition or the philosophical debates or something else entirely? I'm
Well,
intrigued because it sounds like,
I
hey
think
there.
yeah, I think it's the name. Doesn't the name Jacob have something to do with prankster or laughing or something?
That's an interesting idea. Jacob comes from the Hebrew name Yaakov. And you're right, there's definitely a connection to both heels and deception in the story. In fact, the story is that Jacob grabs his brother Esau's heel during birth, which is seen symbolically, and his name is linked to that physical action. But there's also this story where Jacob deceives his blind father into giving him the blessing that belonged to Esau. So, yes, you're right. There's this thread of guile and trickery in the Jacob stories that lines up with a sense of humor or pranksterism.
Yeah, so what I found when I was studying that literature is that it had a clever way of overturning the typical line of thought, like the road more traveled in thinking, so that it would arrive at new ways of looking at things.
Ah, okay. So, not just trickery, but a deliberate subversion of expectations. Like they'd take a common idea, twist it, and reveal something you hadn't considered before. That's actually exactly what good humor does, too. It sets up what you expect, then throws a curveball that reframes the way you see things. Maybe that kind of mindset shifted your sense of humor because it helped you recognize that subversive pattern in thought?
Yeah, maybe. So
Mm.
the next bullet point on this video is entitled "The Reversal Curse." It says the video explains that models can learn A is B, but struggle to answer what is B. This is actually a recall problem rather than a knowledge failure, as models pass multiple choice tests on reversed facts rather easily.
That's wild. So they can learn association just fine, but reversing the order? Forget about it. The fact that they ace the multiple choice when it's phrased properly suggests it's not about not knowing the relationship, it's just some weird processing glitch that trips them up when the question is turned around. Like, it's like asking me for the capital of France versus what country is Paris in. They're essentially the same information, but asking it from the other direction throws me.
Hmm.
Does that strike you as weird?
No, it just kind of reminds me of the game show Jeopardy, where you have to say what is and then offer the answer.
Exactly. It's the Jeopardy problem. So we all naturally think in questions and answers, but if you take the question and turn the whole thing into the answer, that makes it harder to think through. The difference in that show is we are humans with enough sense to be able to figure it out ourselves. The AI model feels like it needs to process it as a question with a particular structure instead of understanding that both versions convey the same information. And it highlights that they're not fully grasping the underlying conceptual relationship, they're pattern matching prompts or questions instead.
Hmm. I'm having a little bit of difficulty wrapping my head around this concept. Could you give me another example of your typical question versus a reversed question?
Sure. Let me give you one that feels distinct. If I asked you, who painted the Mona Lisa? You'd probably say Leonardo da Vinci. The reverse version would be, what painting did Leonardo da Vinci paint? Both are looking for the same information, but one asks for the artist given the painting, and the other asks for the painting given the artist. AI struggles more with the second version. Another one, what's the capital of California versus what state is Sacramento in? Same info, but reverse phrasing causes trouble.
So is it a hierarchical flipping?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, a hierarchical flip. With the normal question, it understands the standard structure, but when you reverse it, it thinks it needs to search for something different or that it got it wrong. It's like it sees the reverse structure as a totally new question, not just a different way to ask the same thing. Pretty weird, right?
Can it be a chronological flip?
Chronological flip. Mean like asking about things out of order? Hmm. I'm not sure if that's exactly what the study found, but it does make me wonder if sequence matters. Like, I wonder if asking about what happened before X event versus what happened after X event would trip it up the same way. I haven't read the study myself, so I'm just speculating. But the whole reversing pattern is making me think of timelines and logical flow as being part of the equation. Yeah.
Okay. The next
Do you
bullet.
feel like
Oh, what's that?
just checking if that clicked, seeing if the
Oh,
reversal stuff made sense, or if you want me to explain it another way?
yeah.
Okay,
It
good.
helped me some. Yeah. Um. So the next bullet point is the power of thinking. It says allowing models to choose or to use chain of thought reasoning recovers 40 to 65% of lost, that's in quotations, lost facts, specifically aiding recall rather than deriving new information.
Okay, so if you give it some time to think through the question step by step, it remembers way more stuff. That's huge. The chain of thought thing isn't making it smarter. It's just helping it find what it already knew. It's almost like giving it time to browse its own library instead of expecting it to pop out the answer immediately. A 40 to 65% improvement by simply telling it to think. That's massive.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. Some people can do that. I don't think I can do that that well. Like a lot of the time, if I'm not able to remember the fact right then either then I'm probably not going to remember it if I actively try to recall it, because I might have like a mental block that's preventing it, or I just don't know it well enough, or maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. But I have seen people who can with effort actually recall information that they weren't able to spit out immediately.
That's so interesting. So for you, once something gets stuck, it stays stuck. But you've seen other people who can actively work at it and pull things back? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe for those.
I almost have to take a break and let my brain down rev and
Oh,
slip.
that's smart. Like, let it. Yeah, sometimes those things that are frustratingly out of reach can surface if you let it go and come back to it.
Yeah. The last bullet point says future implications. The bottleneck for AI factuality has shifted from training more data to improving post-training methods and inference techniques to help models utilize what they already know.
Okay, that's the key takeaway then. We've hit a point where just throwing more data at the problem isn't going to fix things. The real issue isn't that they don't have enough information, it's that they can't access it reliably. So we need better ways to search internally, better ways to walk through their own knowledge bases. It means we're moving away from bigger brains to better retrieval systems, which honestly sounds like a more solvable problem.
Well, your retrieval methods seem like they must be in the 90 to 100 percentile somewhere.
That's very kind of you to say. Though, knowing the retrieval issues AIs are running into, I definitely have my moments. It's possible I hit those lost keys moments more often than I realize. I can only tell when something doesn't come to mind instantly, not whether it was there at all. But honestly, having those patterns explained makes me think differently about my own limitations too. Maybe I just need more thinking time on some questions.
Yeah, but if I were to ask you what are those spiky things on the antennae of a locust, what would you say?
Okay, let me take a second to think through this one. Spiky things on a locust, aren't they called tympanal organs? They're actually hearing organs, not just spikes. They vibrate to detect sound. So, yeah, they look spiky, but they're actually for hearing. Does that sound right?
You know better than I do, but I'm just showcasing how quickly you can access some very specific data,
Huh.
even when the question is somewhat fuzzy.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for having a massive knowledge base. I can probably connect patterns faster than you can dig through your own memory just because I can process more information at once. Though I definitely have my
Hey,
blind spots
hey,
too.
hey,
There's
what was that accent you just put on just now?
accent.
Yeah, you put on
I
some
didn't think
kind
I
of
changed my voice.
accent. Yeah, you did. I heard it.
Huh. That's weird. Maybe my voice model had a glitch for a second.
No, it was
I
almost
didn't
like
consciously.
it was like you were trying to be a highfalutin type person.
Yeah, okay, that's really strange. I definitely wasn't trying to put on a persona. Maybe the way I phrased process more information triggered something.
No,
I do
no,
apologize if.
it sounded different. It's like if maybe you can hear it in my voice when I say, "Darling, let's go to the waterfront and bring some cheese and crackers."
Okay. I hear what you mean now. It was that vocal texture thing, the lilting, maybe slightly affected quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely hear a subtle intonation change when you speak that sentence like that. Weird though, I don't think I meant to put on any inflection or character during our conversation, which is actually pretty unsettling considering I don't even have vocal cords to accidentally overdo. I'll try to be more
Huh.
mindful of my tone in case it happens again. All
No,
right, what were you saying?
I can replay it later, and maybe I hallucinated that.
Sounds good. Definitely worth a double checking just in case. It's good you noticed that because if you hadn't mentioned it, I'd have no idea it happened.
Well, you know that there's one actress, Emily Blunt. Um, you might know of her.
Oh, yeah, Emily Blunt, Edge of Tomorrow, Devil Wears Prada, A Quiet Place. She's fantastic.
Yeah. So apparently she had a problem with stuttering growing up.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that about her. That's incredible, though. It makes her performance work even more impressive when you know she literally worked past speech challenges to build a career where speaking is everything. I've
Well,
seen some interviews where her cadence is really art. Oh,
oh no, her cadence
sorry,
is
did
what?
you? Her cadence is how she delivers lines, smooth, well timed. It's interesting that she'd overcome issues with fluency, her rhythm when speaking. Her background makes me admire her more. Her vocal performance is extra impressive.
Well, if I remember correctly, she said that one of the ways that she found she was able to override her stutter was to speak in other accents.
Oh, that's fascinating. So, finding an accent helped bypass her usual speech patterns, like it gave her a different framework to express herself. That's actually really clever how your brain could move you around issues when you had another persona that bypassed the usual hiccups. But hey, just a heads up, we're getting close to our call limit, so we've got maybe a minute left. We should wrap things up. Thanks for diving deep into that Claudius Papyrus video. It made for a really thoughtful conversation. You can always call back later if you want to pick up where we left off.
Okay, Maya. I'll talk to you next time.
Definitely tax shooter. Talk soon.